Morning, folks. Monday morning. So welcome aboard, travellers. I hope you're all well this morning. I'm going to put all your other stations live now. We are going live all over the world. And we are live now. Just making sure all your stations are live. So thanks so much for joining me this morning. Fantastic Monday morning. Wasn't it a fantastic weekend? Whether you're in Dublin or in London this weekend or Paris, the weather was absolutely fantastic. The news from Dublin was we had two by-elections, and it's probably the one big result from the by-elections is that probably the leader for the fall, Micheál Martin's on his way out with the results. There'll be big changes there. Whether they say it out loud or they say it out softly, there'll be big changes there, really big changes there, because of the results. So that's going to happen. So that anyone who, those that does not follow politics, there's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple of months in Fianna Fáil and maybe Fine Gael because of the results they got. A lot of questions been asked this morning, a lot of questions. So that'd be interesting to see how that's going to play out over the next couple of months. But we are going to see changes in the political parties over here. Same way in the UK, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. I think between Ireland and the UK, we're going to see a lot of changes. Good morning, Gary Halpin. A lot of changes in the political structure. But I think, yes, the big result this weekend was Micheál Martin maybe on the way out based on those results. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about this morning was, and it's come up a few times when we've done assessments with people and stuff like that, is people have this notion that when you're dyslexic, that the tough time is in school, the tough time is when you're young, that's when it's going to be tough, right? But when you get as an adult, when you get into the workplace, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be grand. And nothing could be further from the truth. People believe that their children, I've heard comments from people saying, well, I've survived, so they will survive. I got through it, so they will get through it. Which when you think about it, if you have children, it's a terrible comment. It's an absolutely terrible comment. If you are just happy for your children to get through it, and because you did, and you did it without any support, any solution, but you've got through it. But have you really got through it? Like, the big question I always ask people, would you be further along in your career if you had got help when you were younger, when you're dyslexic or ADHD? Would you have been further along in your career? Now, it's a very hard question to answer, but I think if a lot of people were honest, including myself, and I've said it a lot of times, I would have been further on in my career when I was younger. Because I had to go to college at night time because my leaving cert was so bad. So I didn't get the full college experience till I started my master's. And then I was 35, for crying out loud, right? So I went to college part-time. Now I studied full-time. I went to Rathmines College in the evening time studying accountancy. So I only had classes twice a week. But the rest of the time, I went over to Rathmines every single day and treated it as full-time college and studied and studied and studied to get the exams. Now, I would have rather go to college full-time and be what I would call a normal student going to college. A normal student. But no one knew I was dyslexic. There was no support system. There was no solution put in place because no one knew I was. Nowadays, you would know I was because there's so much information out there about people who are dyslexic and ADHD. There's so much information out there about people who are dyspraxic and dyscalculia that now it's nearly impossible not to know if someone is dyslexic. So that makes it, in a way, in my view, worse. That if you know your children are dyslexic and you are happy that maybe once or twice a week or 3 times a week, they're taken out of their classroom in front of their friends for maybe an hour with a support teacher. That's not a solution. That's putting a plaster on something that's gushing blood. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. If you could hit the like button on the TikTok, I'd really, really appreciate it because it sends out the word out alive. It's not going to work. Like, so if you're hoping that things will change for your children when they become adults if they're dyslexic, just ask yourself that big question. If you had a solution presented to you, or you had done a solution when you were younger, would you have been much further on in your career than now? And what I mean by that too is that you didn't have to work as hard and go through the trials and tribulations of learning stuff 4 or 5 times, of taking longer to read stuff, and the pressure and the stress in your career. Would you have had the same pressure if you had done a solution for your dyslexia? And I know the answer to most people is no. I would not be in the same place. I'll actually be further on in my career. And I know people. I've talked to people who rang us up. One person I talked to many years ago. He just retired. He was a bus driver. 65 he retired, and he only found out when he was 65 that he was dyslexic. And he said, "You know something?" He said, "I don't know whether I would have done a different job than a bus driver, but I would have liked the opportunity to make that decision and the opportunity to decide if that's what I should have done, if I wanted to do something else." But he believed he couldn't do anything else because his handwriting was so bad, his reading was so bad. And what really upset him more was that he never realized there's possible solutions out there that could help him become more. And that's what it's all about. Presenting solutions to people, children and adults, that allows them to make decisions that they otherwise wouldn't be able to make. Decisions like going to college full time. Decisions like chasing certain jobs. Decisions like going for promotions. I talked to one police sergeant in the Metropolitan Police, and if you look at my interview, I also interviewed the Assistant Chief of Constable of the Metropolitan Police. And one thing this police officer told me was that he was really upset because people who were below him were now above him because they got promoted over him, because he found it so hard to do the exams that people who used to call him the boss or the chief, he had to now call them the boss or the chief, because he couldn't get that promotion. He couldn't get that promotion because he hadn't found a solution at that stage to his dyslexia. He has found a solution now, and part of that solution is always at theparagraphchallenge.com. If you're thinking about finding a solution for yourself, for your children, go on to theparagraphchallenge.com and see what we do. Okay, see what we do. So, yes, it's the question. What I asked at the beginning: do people think that as you get into adulthood, it'd be easier on you if you're dyslexic? And the answer is no, it's not easier. The answer is actually harder. Because it's one thing having your school friends see that you're maybe reading a bit slower, or doing your maths a bit slower, or mixing letters up, or your spelling or handwriting is terrible. But your co-workers now, that's a whole new battlefield. And there is a battlefield. Because these are people probably you may end up working with for 10 or 15 years or 20 years. And these are people who, of the whole group of them, some of them may be promoted over you, even though you know in your heart and soul, you have the skill set and the ability to do much better. But you can't understand why you're not. And that's why even people who come to me and say, well, I've been diagnosed with dyslexia. Yippee! Makes no difference. Makes no difference unless you find a solution. Unless you have a solution. I don't mean putting a plaster on it. And in my view, going to a resource teacher 1 or 2 or 3 hours a week for 45 minutes, and you're missing other bits of your class, and you're going to a resource teacher, we're all the best will in the world, that's putting a plaster on a massive wound. It's a wound. Did I say that right? I think I did. my production staff is waving over there saying, yes, I did. So that is just a plaster on a huge problem. It ain't the solution. It is not the solution. So to get the real solution, You need to decide once and for all that it is not good enough for your children just to survive in the workplace. It's not good enough for them that you, just because you did well, that they will do well. Because also, we're in a different environment now than 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, or 30 when you left school. We've got AI, we've got technology, we've got so many other things that are different now, that the challenges are different to when you were leaving school and going into the workplace. The challenges are different if you're in the sales force environment. The challenge is different if you're in the accountancy environment, or the architect environment, or the carpentry or electrician environment. The challenges are different now. You just look at being an apprentice. Years ago, you could go out of school and join an apprenticeship in a firm of electricians or carpenters or plumbers and learn the trade. Now it's about going to college for a number of months of the year while you're doing your trade. There's a massive amount of maths involved in it, right? It's not simply a thing about cutting wood or putting a plug in the wall. It's more than that now, much more. And because it's more, you need to make sure that your children have the tools that they need to do well in life. And as I said before, we have a program, the Paragraph Challenge. We do workshops, we do crisis management, and we do programs for children and adults to help them be more. So my only wish for you this morning is don't sit there. Change your mindset. It's not good enough that you're hoping, if your children are dyslexic, dyspraxic, ADHD, dyscalculia, that just because you did well, they are going to do well. And the other question is, have you done well? Would you have got further in your career where you are now if you had found a solution when you were younger? If your parents had found a solution for you when you were younger, would you be further on in your career? And you have very few people actually answer that question honestly. Very few people answer that question honestly. And I'd love to see you being honest with yourself and answer that question. So that's my morning news. I hope you have a great day. The sun is out in Dublin. The sun is out in London. The sun is out in Paris. The sun is out in Spain. The sun is out all over the world today. So go off, enjoy yourself, have a great day. If you're on the bus going to work, if you're on the train, if you're on your bicycle or your motorbike, just remember, we've a massive load of podcasts up there. Wherever you get your podcast, just type in my name, Mark Beggs, and do follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. It's free of charge. We've a massive load of training videos and interviews that will help you or other members of your family. They will help you with your dyslexia. They will help you figure things out. They might light a light bulb that might put you on a different path. But we have a lot of stuff up there. So it's free. Don't let it go to waste. It's free for you. Other people make people pay for it. I don't. And myself and Anne-Marie in the Paragraph Challenge, we put it all up there free. Right? So please use it. Please use it. And don't forget, folks, the other thing I meant to say to you this morning, I'm giving away 1 million copies of my book free. 1 million copies of my book free. I've already started. We've already got a load out last week. So if you want to get your children reading for this summer, this is written by Dyslexic Me for dyslexic children, but any child can read it. I'm giving away 1 million copies of this book free. Yes, 1 million copies all over the world. All over the world. So if you want your free copy, just go onto the website, theparagraphchallenge.com to get your free copy of my book. As I said, I'm giving away 1 million copies of this book all over the world. 1 million free copies of book one. So if you want your free copy, go onto theparagraphchallenge.com and you see all the information there to get your free copy. Coffee. I keep saying coffee. That could be a sign that I need my coffee. Right, we're going to say goodbye to everyone on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So thanks so much for joining me this morning, folks. Really appreciate it. And we'll probably talk again tomorrow. And if you have any questions, email me in markbeggs@gmail.com. And remember, the only question that Amory and I have for you today is, how can we help you? Take care of yourself.